Hey guys, tired of feeling stuck in your dating life and striking out in the dating game? You're not alone. Maybe you just need some good coaching. Welcome to Just Ask Her, the no BS podcast for real dating advice straight from a woman's point of view. Dating expert Gracie Pleshcourt and her co-host, certified life coach Tracy Pleshcourt, are here to give you the play-by-play on how to attract more women you're interested in. So, let's take back control of your dating life. This is Just Ask Her.
Welcome back to Just Ask Her, the podcast that helps you date with confidence, connect with real women, and finally feel in control of your love life. I'm your host, Gracie, here with my mom and co-host and certified life coach, Tracy. And today we've got a good episode for you guys.
We are finally at episode 30.
Yeah. Been doing this for more than half a year.
Yeah. 52 weeks in a year. We're at 30.
Wow. Time flies.
Yeah. We were in Utah vacationing last weekend and did a ton of fun things. It was probably the most adventurous vacation I've ever been on. Like, it was just packed with outdoor activities, which was amazing. And we went with our extended family, which really made it something special. We wish we would have done fly fishing and horseback riding.
Oh, yeah.
But we have to save something for next time, right?
Right. Well, we will definitely be going back. We stayed in the Park City area in Utah. I think the highlight of the trip by far was UTVing in the mountains. I've never done something like that before. Being up there in general was insane, but doing it on a UTV was a completely different experience. It was kind of scary. I was a driver for a good majority of it, and the first 10 minutes was a little rough.
It was so steep and it was a lot of very large, loose rocks. Yeah.
But this was legit hiking up a mountain in a UTV. You don't get experiences
very
like this
narrow
anywhere
trails,
else.
Unable to pass if another vehicle is coming at you. You have to somehow figure out how
you
to
get as far over as you possibly can. And then
mind you, we're 10,000 feet up looking over down a cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was crazy. But day one, we hiked on foot. It was just wickedly hot. It was pretty steep, probably more than I had banked on. I'm so glad I did it. I felt so proud of myself, but it was not an easy hike. And then day two, we went on a boat ride. Day three was UTVs. Day four was our return home day. And on our way to the airport, we decided to stop at the Olympic Village, which was amazing. There were so many really cool things to see. You decided to do the bobsled activity or excursion.
Basically, we went down the actual Olympic bobsled track that they do in the winter for the Winter Olympics. In 2001, Park City was the host of the Winter Olympics. And so they have all of the setup still there for people to go in and see. It's a tourist attraction. And so one of the things that they let you do is the actual bobsled track that the Olympians go down. And so now, mind you, that is in the winter on ice. So they travel at much, much higher speeds. We were going 70 something miles per hour, and it feels a lot faster when you're in bobsled. And so you have a little driver in front of you, and you can have up to 4 people in the bobsled at a time. And it was just me and Dad. He really wanted to do it. So I was, you know what? It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So let's do it. It literally was a 1-minute course. So we shot down that thing in less than 60 seconds, but it was cool. And now I can say that I did it. And the 2034 Winter Olympics are happening there again.
Yeah.
So now in 9 years, I can be like, I went down that thing.
It was such a cool vacation. And I'm so glad that we put so much effort into planning the perfect vacation with our extended family.
The ATV place that we did, I highly recommend. This is not sponsored. They were amazing. They were so awesome. The whole trail itself was unreal. I can't really describe it. Pictures wouldn't do it justice, but being up there was so cool. And so if anybody is out in Park City, Utah and is wanting to do a UTV ride, honestly, I think that would be an unforgettable date. If anybody ever took me on that, I would never forget that date. So if anybody's out there and looking for something to do or looking for a fun date idea, the place we went through was called Uinta Recreation. Unreal. I highly recommend.
Yeah. How did you spell that?
Uinta. That's the national forest that you go through, is Uinta. It's a hard one to pronounce, but that's the forest that you actually go to. And this place was called Uinta Recreation. It was such a cool experience.
Yeah. And they very much prioritize safety, but they also do a really good job of letting you explore and figure things out on your own.
Oh, yeah. You can do guided tours. We didn't do a guided tour. We did it on our own just because we had a big group and felt like we could probably figure it out ourselves. But I bet it's just as unreal doing it with a guide.
Yeah.
And you probably feel a little bit more safe.
Yeah, I'm a little risk adverse. So there were times that I did not feel that safe looking over the
I
ledge.
couldn't look over the edge. When I was driving, I had to look straight the entire time because it was, you're right at the edge.
Yeah. And following your child in a UTV 10,000 feet up, it is just something I did not expect, but it was really cool. And again, I was so happy that I did it.
Link Uinta Recreation in the show notes for anybody that wants to check it out. But you'll also see it. I'll post it on social media too for you guys to just see literally how crazy of the views there actually were.
Can't wait to do it again.
Yeah.
All right. So I really enjoyed reading through all of the submissions that we got this week. Again, there was a lot from our international listeners. Submission 1 is written in by John, and we titled it, "Is it fair to pursue love when she's still grieving?" Hi, Gracie and Tracy. I met a Ukrainian woman who originally responded to an ad I had posted. She was going to help edit some videos for me. And sadly, her father was killed in a Russian missile strike, and her stepdad died fighting on the front lines in Donetsk. She recently moved here, and while we initially connected through work, we quickly became friends and started hanging out. She even helped me take care of my dog while I was filming a wedding. I really like her. There have been moments when she hugged me tightly that felt like they meant something more. She's also told me that she'll reach out when she's ready to talk. I'm wondering how to approach this if I want to pursue a relationship with her. Given everything she's been through, is it even the right time or fair for me to try? Much appreciated.
Jeez. That is
intense.
Yeah. That's so sad.
It's hard to wrap your head around loss like that, but loss due to war, it's really hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for one, this is a really extreme circumstance. I think death in general, I worked with a couple clients where they have recently met somebody and then that person goes through some sort of loss in a family member or something like that. And in my experience of helping clients with this kind of stuff, it's always better to just give it space because there is a lot of emotions going on. And it's not to say that you guys can't connect when she's feeling those types of emotions, but it's going to make it really hard to decipher for her whether or not, probably for both of you, but for her especially, it's going to be hard for her to decipher her feelings for you and the extreme
processing
feelings of, like loss and grief and needing that kind of support right now.
Yeah. And there is really no universal timeline for grief. There's definitely no rule book that says when it's appropriate to move towards love again. But what is always fair and deeply respectful is letting someone be exactly where they are emotionally without trying to push or accelerate their healing for the sake of a connection. So even if it feels very promising, you've got to just let her have that space and time. You mentioned something pretty telling in this submission. You said she told you she'll reach out when she's ready to talk. And that is a complete sentence. It's very courageous of her to be that direct. She's honoring her own emotional bandwidth. And now it's your job to honor her boundary without trying to hide or step into some sort of savior mode.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely not the right time to try and explore something with her. I also think that you have to be careful with situations like this because she was working for you or with you originally. That's how the relationship started. And then it turned into a friendship where you guys did friendly things for each other. And so now the dynamics shift from that to something romantic, it definitely can happen, but it's not going to happen overnight. And I think that that's something that if you want to explore, you should give the time that it deserves to actually explore it and do things, changing the language that you use around her and trying to use more flirty back and forth exchanges rather than the friendly back and forth exchanges that you're used to having, or telling her things like, oh, I'd love to take you there sometime. Making smaller steps towards like that flirty dynamic between the two of you is going to be important before just like dropping it out of nowhere, especially if you guys have created such a good friendly relationship. And that also can be confusing. She could very well just see you as a friend right now. And so you don't want to take her friendly signs, giving you hugs and things like that, although that can be flirty if it's mixed with other things. I think you just have to be careful of not making the signs mean something that they're not. If this is a friendly relationship, that's probably how she sees it right now. And just because she's doing things, giving you longer hugs, like I do that with friends, that can be a friendly thing to do. And so she's not giving you other signs using flirty language herself, or teasing you, or having any sort of banter, or doing things, reaching out to have conversations with you, or having more in-depth conversations that go beyond the surface. If those things aren't happening, then I wouldn't assume that she's in the same place as you right now, just because you guys have started as a professional relationship, then turned into a friendly relationship. And so it takes time to then shift that into more of a flirty relationship.
And John, you're not doing anything wrong by developing feelings. I think the real test is, are you willing to want more without needing more? Can you hold your interest without needing her to mirror it back?
I think it's hard because you would have to actively try to shift that dynamic right now. And right now, in the state that she's in, I don't think it makes sense. I don't think that's the type of relationship that you should try to build with her when she's grieving over something so extreme. I think with this specific situation, I would take the time to just support her, be there for her when she tells you she needs it, because she told you she would reach back out when she was ready. So I would respect that and allow her to come back to you when she really is ready. And then once it seems like she's in more of an emotionally stable space, that's when you can try to shift this dynamic between the two of you.
Yeah. So I think instead of pursuing her, try to position yourself, let her see your steadiness. This isn't the time, I think, to have a strategy other than give it some time. Mm-hmm. Let there be some time. Let her experience the kind of presence that doesn't need to be romantic in order to be trustworthy. Sometimes what opens someone's heart is not your desire, but it can be your respect for the situation she's in. And so your ability to let her kind of come towards you in her own timing without pressure or expectation is going to be the love story currently. And even if it never does become romantic, it's the right thing to do right now. It doesn't mean you have to suppress what it is that you feel, but you do have to lead with like emotional safety and really be careful of making anything feel urgent.
For yourself and her.
Yeah. And if and when she's ready, she'll remember who stood still when everything around her was crumbling.
Totally.
So that's the kind of man that I think is unforgettable. And that sounds like the kind of man that you have the capacity to be. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that you even wrote into us with such a heartfelt, raw story says a lot about you. I just think this has more to do with timing than anything else. Yeah. And it sounds like you have the capacity to be very respectful, and I would continue to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Quick heads up for all my Just Ask Her listeners, I'm hosting another Attraction Masterclass this Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central Time, and you're all invited. It'll be a live 60-minute class where I'm breaking down exactly what makes women feel pulled towards you. No games, no pretending, just grounded confidence and real connection. But spots are limited. Zoom actually caps the amount of people that I can have on this class, and I haven't posted this anywhere else yet. So this is your chance to grab a seat before it goes out to my 450,000 followers on Instagram. If your dating life has been in a slump, this is your sign to show up, take notes, and do something different. Go ahead and save your seat now. The link's in the show notes. All right, so submission 2, we titled, Why Do My First Dates Go Nowhere? Help. I'm a 62-year-old empty nester with 2 grown children. I was previously married, and after my divorce, I was in an 11-year relationship that I once thought would last forever, but unfortunately it didn't. That relationship ended 2 years ago, right before I turned 60. Since then, I found myself re-entering the dating world during an age of apps, which has been a major adjustment. After being in a long marriage and then a long-term relationship, I knew I needed to get comfortable with dating again, and I approached that challenge with determination. In my younger years, I was shy and hesitant to approach or ask women out. But now, at this stage of life, I'm much more confident and comfortable even in situations that feel awkward. I jumped into dating apps, started matching, and began going on dates. I describe myself as friendly, talkative, funny, and, well, I present myself well, and I date pretty regularly, maybe even too much. Most of my matches come from apps, and after a bit of messaging back and forth, I usually try to move things forward with an in-person date. Here's the problem. These dates almost never go anywhere. I think where I get stuck is in what I call the post-date match. I tend to get overexcited and anxious after a good first date, which leads me to over-communicating via text, to wonder if I text too much or too often out of fear of being forgotten. For example, I recently got a first date with a woman. Afterward, she texted me daily and seemed interested in seeing me again. She even mentioned a specific night she was free. I told her that night worked for me and shared a bit of detail about when I'd be off of work and available to meet. Then, silence. After 24 hours without a reply, I followed up, but still heard nothing. I believe actions speak louder than words, and silence, let's call it what it is, ghosting, speaks volumes. On the day of the planned date, I still hadn't heard from her, so I assumed it wasn't happening. Late in the day, she finally texted saying she got busy and wouldn't be back in time, and that she felt terrible about it. But there was no mention of rescheduling or meeting another time. This all played out over 5 days, and going from her initiating plans to complete radio silence. Of course, I've run this past friends, both younger and around my age. The younger women said I was texting too much and that it may have come across as a turnoff. The older women said I was being a gentleman and she simply lacked manners. The bigger picture is this. I have no trouble getting first dates, but I can't seem to move things forward. So my question is, how do I strike the balance between showing interest and not coming across as overly eager? And how do I stop sabotaging the post-date stage? I'd really appreciate any insight.
Well, I think that this is pretty common where you're finding yourself in that area of limbo between interest and overeagerness.
Oh, it's so common. I help clients with this all the time.
Yeah, and I doubt it has much to do with his age. I think.
No, it happens at all ages.
So if you've been blaming your age or assuming that you're out of touch with modern dating, I think that's probably not a narrative that's serving you. This isn't an age problem. I would guess that this is more of a mindset issue.
I think this is interesting because we're always so quick to blame the circumstance or something in the circumstance for why something's not going right. And I do think that there can be cases where you're over texting, you're doing too much in the beginning before actually getting out on the first date and getting to know her. If you feel like you're landing first dates, but then not actually getting on the first dates, then yes, something in between the stage of landing the date and actually going on the date is happening. And usually it is a case of you texting too often or too much or overdoing it or trying to get to know somebody over text rather than on that first date. And so that can be a simple shift. That can be literally you only use texting for a means of setting up the date, sending a check-in, and then confirming the date. That's it. No other texts go in between that. There isn't a bunch of conversation in between that of trying to get to know each other a little bit more. Save that for the date. If you've been trying to have a little bit of conversation beforehand, sometimes that can feel a little unnatural. Going a couple days or going even a week without having conversation with this person that you just set a date up with. That's why you can send a few check-ins here and there. Something as simple as, hey, happy Monday. Hope the start of your week is going well. Excited for our date on Thursday. That's it. That's all you need to say to show interest, to show that you're still in for the date, without striking up a long conversation or striking up anything that would start to get to know her before you're actually out on the date. Save that for the date. So if that seems to be the pattern, if it seems like you've been jumping on first dates or setting up first dates and then they cancel before you even get to it, that's likely what's going on, and it can be a simple fix. Now, if you're getting out on first dates and you're not getting past the first dates, you can't land a second one or even sometimes the third one, that is a lack of building connection on those dates. A lot of times, whether it's because of nerves or the first date jitters or whatever, a lot of times it can feel harder to connect in that way with somebody, but that is a mindset. That absolutely is the way that you're showing up, the way that you're thinking about the date, the way that you're thinking about the other person, the way that you're thinking about connecting with the other person. That absolutely has everything to do with the way you're thinking and feeling about the date, on it, before it, after it.
Yeah, that's the way you're thinking is creating the energy that she can feel.
Oh, yeah.
So if you've said, you were being very honest when you said that after a great first date, you get anxious.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the key right there, because it's not the texting behavior that's causing the shift. It's the energy. When communication is being driven by anxiety or the fear of being forgotten or needing some sort of reassurance, it registers to her as pressure, not presence. And most people, no matter if they're 32 or 62, will subconsciously pull away from that kind of energy.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of focusing on how much to text or how soon to follow up, I think you need to focus on why you're reaching out. Like, are you grounded in self-trust, or are you reaching to fill some sort of gap in certainty?
Mm-hmm.
A powerful reframe is something like this. Your job after a date isn't to maintain her interests. It's to maintain your alignment, your peace, your standards, your pace. It's possible that you're so eager to not be forgotten that you forget you're the one choosing. And I do think that's where this emotional self-sabotage starts to sneak in.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Your strategy would be exactly what Gracie said. Send the follow-up text one time, not to check in, but to just lead. Show her that you're already looking ahead, or that you want to follow up after the first date saying you had a great time and that you would love to do it again.
Yes. I think the same rules apply between when you set up the first date to setting up the second date and actually going on the second date. When I read this the first time, I thought he didn't actually get out on the first date, but you did get out on the first date. You just couldn't get to the second date. And I think if it was an energy shift, if you guys had already talked about going on another date, then again, yeah, it sounds like you were overdoing it in text. I think you should set a rule that for those first 3 dates, you don't give any more emotional energy outside of those dates. And I know that sounds harsh, and I know that sounds like, well, how are you supposed to connect with them? Connect with them on the date. Don't try to do that between dates. It's so much different doing it in person than doing it over text. You don't get all the good things that come with creating chemistry that you can build in person on the dates. And so things can get lost in translation. Tone can be misconstrued. There can be some miscommunication. So eliminate all of that. Save it all for the date. Use texting as a tool to set up those first couple of dates, and then be super intentional about, hey, I really want to keep getting to know you in person. I'm not much of a texter. I'd rather get to know you in person.
Yeah, I think that is such good advice. Use the texting as a means to coordinate, and use the in-person as a means of really connecting. Yeah. And so you don't text to fill the space or to fill the silence. Trust that her response or lack thereof is information. It's definitely not evidence of your worth. It's just data. And then watch your thoughts. Instead of spiraling into the what did I do wrong, try on what did I learn about her, or what did I learn about myself, or what did I learn about how I want to be pursued? There's so much to learn about yourself through this that if you can keep your thoughts on that, you're going to be so much better off and you're going to stay leading this relationship.
Yeah, I think it's so common. As humans, we want to be wanted. We want to be desired. We want to feel like someone is interested in us. And so as soon as you get a taste of that, your fear-based brain clicks on and goes a little crazy and is, oh my gosh, this is great. Let's hold on to this. Let's not lose this, before you even know whether or not it's worth losing.
Yeah.
Before you even have the information you would need to make a decision like that, your brain does it for you. So you need to catch yourself. You need to put your fear-based brain in check and reel it back in. I think you're absolutely right. Your post-date anxiousness is running the show here. And you just need to ask yourself, what am I really anxious about? What is really going on here? And I think you did a good job identifying that.
You're just giving too much of you to women who haven't yet earned it.
Yeah.
Like, they need to show you that they are somebody worth pursuing. And that's what you're going to learn on the date. It's just about redirecting the energy that you have into the in-person component of this process and not putting it into the texting.
Yeah. I think that you're doing a good job. And I think that this is so common and it makes a lot of sense why it happens. Give yourself some grace for it happening. But if you want it to stop happening, then it's going to take being more intentional about leveling yourself off after a first date. It's totally fine to be excited, and you should be. And it's exciting having a great first date. But moving forward, you've got to bring yourself back down to earth and remind yourself, okay, great first date doesn't equal a relationship. We've still got a few steps before we can even start considering a relationship. So let's just worry about the next date and getting to know her on that next date and move from there. And this is exactly why I created my guide on how to build chemistry, because things like this happen so often. I hear it all the time. I can get first dates, but I struggle getting past the first date. I struggle getting beyond those first couple of dates. It's because you're not building a strong enough emotional connection early on. And so if you're struggling with that, if you're getting to the end of a first date and texting too much isn't the problem, it's more so that you didn't connect enough on the first date, then I will link my guides. You can just put in your name and email and you'll get access to 3 free guides. And one of those is how to build chemistry. Or you can go to datingwithgracie.com and you can grab the guides yourself.
Awesome. If you're loving the Just Ask Her podcast, please take a quick second to rate us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It helps more awesome listeners like you find the show. And don't forget to spread the love by sharing this episode with all of your friends. All right, back to Just Ask Her. Submission 3 is written in by Jeremy, and we titled it Healing, Bipolar, and First Dates at 36. I'm 36 and have never really dated. I've wanted to, badly, in fact, but I grew up in a religiously conservative home where dating was only for marriage. It wasn't something you did casually or with too many people. I had a girlfriend when I was 19, but it only lasted for 4 months, and I spent the last 2 of those planning how to break up with her. That's the one and only bullet point on my dating resume. Throughout my life, I've had a bad habit of hopelessly obsessing over a girl for years at a time. I thought dating was supposed to look this. 1, build a friend group. 2, find a cutie with wife qualities.
Wifey
qualities. 3, be hilarious at a group outing. 4, make her fall for you. 5, get married. And 6, be fruitful, very fruitful, and multiply. As you can probably guess, that plan didn't exactly work. Slowly, I faded from hopeful to dormant. The fire of wanting a relationship became a barely there flicker. Then, 2 months after I turned 30, I had a manic episode that landed me in the hospital for 2 weeks. It wasn't until 2 years later that I finally received the correct diagnosis, bipolar 1. Since then, I've been in regular therapy and doctor care, and I've started to get real clarity on the challenges I've faced: substance use, financial instability, work inconsistencies, and mood swings. Now I'm facing a new set of challenges, but this time I'm choosing acceptance and honesty. I've made real progress. I'm losing weight. I'm part of a support group, and for the first time in a long while, I'm not avoiding life. I'm slowly waking up, painfully, but genuinely. Still, I worry it might take a couple years before I feel fully grounded and ready to date. I feel incredibly behind and honestly insecure about how inexperienced I am at this stage of life. So I have two questions. A, how can I start making progress in dating when I feel so far from being market ready? And B, how do I approach dating with a nearly blank resume at my age? Thank you for all the helpful, encouraging, and honest work you do. Warmly, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy, for being so honest. I can imagine that this wasn't easy to write, and I appreciate how vulnerable you were in it. And I think that to me, it sounds like you have a lot of really great qualities, and it is going to be more about how you market those great qualities. But if I'm being completely honest, I think that the best place for you to be is focusing on yourself and not necessarily prioritizing dating right now. In most situations, you don't have to wait until you're at this finish line or at this goal of yours to start dating. But when it comes to your mental and emotional well-being, you do need to prioritize that first. And I think that if you're not in a place where that makes sense for you, where you're still learning about your new diagnosis, you're still learning how to navigate life with this diagnosis, and it's really important that you prioritize that first and foremost before you even think about bringing somebody else into your life. That is only going to serve you and your future relationship so much better when you have a clear understanding of what that looks like for you. That way you can have a clear understanding of what that looks like for you paired with somebody else, because it can be confusing navigating that alone, let alone bringing somebody else in the mix that you don't have control over. If you don't necessarily understand how to navigate those things on your own, it's going to be extremely hard to bring somebody else into it and try to navigate it alongside somebody new.
Yeah. The honesty in this letter is the very thing that's going to make you a phenomenal partner.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Gracie. Working on yourself is the priority right now. I think the phrase market ready is so telling. It implies that there's a version of you out there somewhere that's more polished or more prepared or more perfect. And we love the thought of becoming. You're not behind. You are in the state of becoming the next best version of you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing a great job of that. And I think as you continue to keep your focus there, you're going to attract new people into your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not that we want you to stop this dating journey. It's that we want you to shift your focus and keep it on becoming the man that you want to be.
Yeah, I think it's so cute. The 7-step list that you created for yourself. I think you have all the right ideas of how to move forward. But again, that could be extremely difficult to do when you have a diagnosis that you're still trying to learn how to operate from. There are amazing support systems like therapy, and even having a really solid friend group can be really healing and important in times like this, especially when you're trying to bring on a new challenge like dating. And I'm not saying this to discourage you or push out your dating timeline. I just think that you are going to attract your person if you are doing it from a clear mindset, if you are doing it from a place of knowing what you bring to the table and understanding yourself fully and being able to move forward from that place rather than from a place of scarcity. You are right now operating from this place of, I'm so far behind. I don't know how to talk about my experiences in dating because of how far behind I am or because of where I'm at in life. And I just want to tell you this, it's not a race. There is no official timeline for this. There is no perfect timeline for this. A great example of that is like there are people that get married super young and then get divorced, or God forbid something happens to your spouse that you have zero control over. There just isn't a perfect timeline. You can make plans all you want. And when it comes to adding another person into your life, there is a lot that's outside of your control. And so you have to be in a place where dating makes sense for you emotionally, mentally, I think if you're not in that place right now, that's not a problem. And it doesn't mean that you aren't going to get there soon. But I think it's also ultra important that you're taking care of you first.
Yeah. And it is going to make sense quicker. You're going to gain that clarity when you start to shift the way you're thinking. Dating doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. And you, Jeremy, are more present in your life right now than you've probably ever been. And that is huge progress. So to Gracie's point, you might not be too far off from being in a place that you are attracting loads of women, the right women. The belief that you need to be fully healed or completely grounded before you can be loved is one of the most vicious lies out there. You don't date after the healing. You date from the healing. You practice being known, not just being impressive. So the mindset shift that I want you to adopt is, what if dating was part of your growth, not the prize at the end of it? I truly believe, Jeremy, that you are in the arena. Like, you're owning your story. You're able to sit with the discomfort instead of buffering it away. That is emotional adulthood. That is super attractive. And most people out there, even the ones with the longer resumes, are still performing in relationships. They're not showing up with the same kind of authenticity and transparency and genuine intentions that you are. So throw out that timeline. You are not late. You are just now arriving with your eyes wide open.
And in my opinion, one of the most attractive qualities in a person is seeing their growth. I think that people evolve and things happen in life, and it's what you choose to make of your past situations that becomes really telling in the kind of person that you are. And the fact that you're spending the time right now that's necessary to heal and grow from your past struggles, I think that speaks much, much louder than this so-called resume of yours. And I think you need to adopt that mindset as well, that you're not behind, and your quote unquote lack of experience does not define the kind of partner that you're going to be in a relationship. And I think that if you talk about your past from a place of how far you've come and the growth that has happened over these past couple of years, or that's going to continue to happen in the few to come, I think that women are going to be impressed by that. They are going to be interested in that because of how much you have put into yourself. That speaks volumes.
Yeah.
That is what women really want to see.
Yeah. I honestly, Jeremy, I think continue to lead with the level of integrity that has gotten you here. That doesn't show any signs of insecurity. When you are as open and honest as you are, you don't need to hide your lack of experience. Actually, to the contrary, you can frame it. You can say something like, I'm new to dating and I'm okay with that. For a long time, I thought I had to have it all figured out before putting myself out there. But I've realized that the real connection doesn't come from knowing the script. It comes from showing up honestly. That's not a red flag. That's the green light for the kind of woman who is emotionally available, the woman who's going to be open-hearted. And honestly, it's going to be super attractive to the women who are tired of all the games. So start small, be very intentional about continuing to focus on yourself. Maybe do some of the lighter activities instead of this intense focus on dating. Maybe start with building your skills around curiosity and continue to grow your skills around being grounded and being present. Make your goal not finding the one, but learning how to connect, how to flirt, how to enjoy the moment. Practice listening, practice owning your story without having to apologize, practice being seen. All of these things are going to really support your dating journey when you are ready to accelerate that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think to your point, there's a lot of things that you can do in quote unquote prep of actually putting yourself in the dating scene. Half the battle of being in the dating scene is your mindset and how you feel about yourself. That's it. That's half the battle right there.
If not more.
Yeah. And so if you can really work on the way you see yourself, your worthiness, that alone is going to make strides for you. If things like conversations with new people scares you a little bit or makes you nervous, that's a great place to start. And that can just be in general. The good thing is that a lot of the social skills in life that can take you far in life also take you far in dating. And so if you struggle in that area, that's a great spot to start, and putting yourself out there in new settings or in new social places so that when you are ready to actually step into the dating scene and start exploring that kind of relationship with somebody, you will have already figured out the hardest part, which is learning how to meet new people in general.
And how to show up and willing to feel all the feels. I don't think dating is just for the polished. It's for the people who are willing to risk that awkwardness in service of something real.
Mm-hmm.
And that is clearly who you are, Jeremy. So keep focusing on yourself and watch how attracting people becomes almost organic.
Yeah. Like I said, I really appreciate you writing in, because I think that this is a very vulnerable topic. And I want you to know that we see you, we hear you, and we're definitely here for you. And we hope that this was helpful for you. And I hope that you hear us when we say you are not behind. This is part of your journey. This is part of your path to finding your person. And so embrace it and really take the time you deserve to heal and grow in this new stage in life for you.
Awesome. And if any of these submissions resonate with you or someone that you know, we would love it if you would pass it along and allow us to help as many people as possible. So thank you again for listening to Just Ask Her. We will see you next week. And until then, take care.
Thanks for listening to Just Ask Her. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to rate and review us. And be sure to follow Gracie on TikTok and Instagram at @datingwithgracie. Thanks again for listening.